duty heading into work was targeted specifically. Investigators say it was all about getting the gun.
There's no way I can explain the mindset of someone who would do something like that, but the one thing I can explain is if they would do that to a uniformed police officer, can you imagine what they would do to a regular citizen?
Yeah, that just happened. Two teenagers, barely out of boyhood, disarmed a fully uniformed Detroit police officer in broad daylight at a gas station. Let's take a real look at what really went down, why it's bigger than just a single headline, and more importantly, the 4 lessons every man needs to teach if we want any chance at all of saving our boys from the system. Hey, I'm Kelvin, and this is Kelvin's Commentary, where I give my take on politics and current events, all from a grown-ass man's point of view. Here's the setup. 2 young men, minors according to news reports, ran up on a Detroit police officer in full uniform who was just trying to pay for his gas at a gas station. They tried to take his gun, and the way they were moving, this didn't seem like their first time being involved in this kind of thing. Now, I don't know what kind of voices they have in their lives, but I do know this. They weren't strong ones. Because when you're that young and that comfortable with violence, it means somebody failed to show you a better way. Let's take a look at the actual news story.
Take a look at this unbelievable video. We'll slow it down to show you just how bold these suspects are. The young man without a shirt goes for the uniformed Detroit police officer's gun on his right side. He gets it. Meanwhile, his accomplice in the Adidas pants pulls a gun, pointing it at the officer. There's a struggle. The officer wrestles his duty weapon, a 9mm, back from the suspect. The two run off. The officer does not shoot at them.
This is just a ridiculous crime.
Detroit Police Commander Arnold Williams says it happened Saturday evening at the BP station near the Southfield and Joy Road. There's nothing to indicate that this officer, who was off duty heading into work, was targeted specifically. Investigators say it was all about getting the gun.
There's no way I can explain the mindset of someone who would do something like that, but the one thing I can explain is if they would do that to a uniformed police officer, can you imagine what they would do to a regular citizen?
Investigators have identified both suspects. They've executed 2 search warrants at their homes and are in contact with their parents. But still, as of Monday afternoon, they're not in police custody.
If it's any family members that are sheltering them or have any information, want them to turn themselves in.
Well, they won't be needing any tips. Dwayne and Marlon already captured, which you'll soon see in the next update. What do you think's going to happen?
Breaking right now, the 2 suspects who police say attacked a DPD officer at a gas station are now in custody. Police say the 2 suspects are juveniles, and they surrendered peacefully today in Southfield. Chief White telling us that this brazen attack isn't going to change how policing is done in the city.
It's unjustifiable, it's illogical, and these 2 young men made a horrible decision. We're going to continue to police these streets constitutionally. Anybody that violates the law, we've been very clear about. We're not going to apologize for locking folks up.
The motive for the attack is still unknown right now.
When you take on a Detroit Police Department in such an open, brazen way, I'm sure no expense was spared in tracking down these 2 young men and putting them through the criminal justice system. So here's the real question. If you're a father, an uncle, a mentor, a coach, a cousin, or even an older brother, what are we teaching our boys? Somewhere along the way, they got the wrong message. The message that fast money beats hard work, that disrespect equals strength, and that proving something to the streets is more important than knowing who you are at home. These are not just bad decisions. They are a blueprint for a destructive, terrible life. Accountability. Let's be clear. I'm not here to blame moms, the streets, the man, or the police. This is about us, the men, the ones who should be leading with example, with presence, and with purpose. These boys didn't become lost overnight. They became lost because the right voices weren't loud enough and long enough in their lives. These weren't old, hardened criminals. They were kids. They thought that taking on a cop was a flex, but they didn't learn that just from the music or the media. They learned it from silence, from not having someone in the house to say basic things like, you don't take stuff that don't belong to you. You don't disrespect people out there just trying to make a living and get by. And you damn sure don't throw your life away trying to prove something to the streets. So here are the 4 basic concepts men must teach their children, teach their boys. Number 1, self-control. Because not having control of your impulses can destroy your life, your future, and most likely will. Consequences. Because every action has one. What is your freedom worth to you? Wisdom. Knowing that walking away is strength, not weakness. What is best for you in the long run? And everything that you probably were going to do that was really, really stupid, there was a friend probably standing right next to you, and you have to have the wisdom to know that you need to walk away from those kind of things. You can't throw your life away because your friend wants to throw his life away. And lastly, number 4, identity. They don't need to impress the streets if they're rooted in their homes. If we don't raise these boys right, the system will. And once the system gets a hold of them, another generation can be lost, at least in that family. Is this just another case of bad parenting? Or are we dealing with a generation that's lost all respect for boundaries? Or is it even something else? I want to hear from you, especially the men who are out there trying to do better. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hey, tag a father, a mentor, a brother, anyone who you feel needs to hear this. Because it's not just about what happened at that gas station. It's about what's not happening in our homes. And remember, until we as men start stepping up and making our voices louder than the streets, we'll keep watching headlines like this turn into heartbreak for our families and our communities. Talk to your sons, check on your nephews, be the voice they need before another story happens that we all regret. Until next time.